Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I am Ryan Clifton Boland. I'm going to get right down to it. As you all probably already know about the Whoopi Goldberg situation, she has been suspended for 2 weeks off of The View by ABC. I think I read that in my last post. Well, I did read it in my last post. I don't think I read it. I did talk about it in my last post. And she's been suspended for 2 weeks off the show. Now, there's a lot of controversy about it being just 2 weeks. Well, she got suspended 2 weeks. Some are saying that they disagree on the right and the left, saying they disagree with her being suspended at all, because even though she was coming from a point of ignorance and not knowing what racism actually was in reference to the Jews being persecuted and murdered by the Nazi regime under Hitler, that it was race related. She was coming from, according to many sources, she was coming from an area of ignorance and she didn't know any better. I also wanted to point out that I didn't point this out in my last video as to whether or not she apologized or not, but she did apologize. I can't remember what show she was on, but she did verbally apologize to the viewing public that she was coming from a point of ignorance, and she apologized. Now, whether or not she was sincere or not, I'm not going to get into all of that. I can't determine a person's sincerity. I can only look at the results. I'll know whether or not she's sincere, and you'll know whether or not she's sincere in what she says if she gets back on The View and starts spinning the same leftist, far leftist lunacy she's been doing. So I wanted to bring that out. She did apologize, but there's a lot of controversy over her being suspended for 2 weeks because both on the right and the left feel that it's an interference with her free speech. And although she was coming from a point of ignorance, she was expressing her opinion, and everyone has a right to express their opinion. And I agree with that. But we're not going to get into, I'm not going to get into that. What I want to talk about is the idea that I believe a lot of black people in America today are thinking. And what I mean by a lot of black people, I mean mostly black people. And don't take this the wrong way, because this is a conservative station. This is a conservative channel. And okay, so if you happen to be Democrat or you happen to be liberal, then just take it and you can voice your opinion in the comment box. This is what I believe. I believe that a great amount of black people in America today who tend to vote Democrat, who tend to have a liberal mindset, want revenge. This is my opinion. They want revenge. Now you may be saying, what are you talking about? Here's the deal. This is what I found out. Whoopi Goldberg gets suspended for 2 weeks, right? For her words. An ABC president basically reprimands her for it. She gets suspended for 2 weeks. Well, what I found out was that Roseanne Barr, who also worked for ABC, said some time ago she put a tweet out in reference to some individual that wasn't a black person. I guess she was white, but she was people thought she was black. I don't know, but anyway, Roseanne Barr put out a tweet some time ago that was derogatory in the minds of a lot of people. She made fun of this woman. She basically said that, she kind of looked like a monkey or whatever. And she got reprimanded, but she didn't just get Roseanne Barr didn't just get reprimanded. She literally got fired. Now, according to the sources, states that she apologized prior to getting fired. She apologized for it, but they fired her. Okay. Now, here we have Whoopi Goldberg saying to the viewing public, not in a tweet, but to millions of people all over, that the Holocaust wasn't about race. It was about white people killing white people. It was about whites against whites. It wasn't about race. She says this ill-informed statement to millions of Americans, but she only gets 2 weeks suspension. Do you see the bias there? Now, going back to this idea that I believe that a vast majority of black people in America who are liberal, who tend to vote Democrat and who are liberal, have this idea of revenge. You say, what do you mean? Because many, many years ago, prior to the civil rights movement and so forth, during the 20s and the 30s, when we had segregation and blacks were being lynched and the segregational laws and so forth, they were treated as inferior. And a lot of these people that was from, in the KKK, these mobs and so forth, and people in the KKK that had lynched black people got away with what they did. They got away with it, basically. They got away with the lynchings, from what I understand. They got away from with the lynchings and the persecution of blacks and so forth, and they got away with it. That partly explains why so many blacks during the 90s, when the football player O.J. Simpson was acquitted for murdering those two individuals. What was it, Nicole Smith? I forget her name, but you guys you know what I'm talking about. 90 situation where her neck was literally almost sliced off, and the guy, I mean, he got acquitted for this. Now, evidence seemed to point to the fact that he did it, but he had a good lawyer, and a lawyer found him acquitted. Most whites felt that was a breach of justice. Most blacks, which included myself at the time, because I didn't know no better, felt that, all right. I wasn't looking at the facts. Blacks weren't looking at the facts. They were looking at, in a subtle way, as an act of revenge. In other words, they were saying, okay, you guys did it to us, which white people today ain't did nothing like that. Okay, but the idea is that blacks were thinking, y'all did it to us. Your people got away with murder, lynching us. Now that O.J. Simpson committed this crime, because I honestly believe that a lot of black people felt in their hearts that O.J. Simpson did commit this crime, that he did commit this murder. But the way they was thinking, in my opinion, was, well, this is revenge. This is payback. So what? I'm glad I'm glad he got away. And so most blacks rejoiced when O.J. Simpson was acquitted, and most whites were against that. Okay? Or you can put it on the conservative and Democratic side. But that was how it went. So their idea was an idea of revenge. Revenge trumps facts and reality. Revenge is emotion. Revenge is rage. Revenge is, I don't care what the facts say. I got to get you back. Tying that to the situation now with Whoopi Goldberg being suspended for 2 weeks and Roseanne Barr, a white woman, being fired for making a tweet, okay, that was somewhat people considered to be derogatory, and getting fired, clearly is bias, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm pretty sure a lot of black people who saw that didn't care. Well, so what? Big deal. See, a lot of black people who lack knowledge of history, who could care less about facts and history and data and reality and truth, have been brainwashed by the leftist mainstream media and Democratic politicians to always side on emotion, always side on rage, always take the side of the left because they did it to you in the past. Let's get them today. And I believe a lot of black people are, and I didn't say all, I said a lot of black people who are on the left, who vote Democrat, are thinking like this. I've had that experience. I've talked to black people who had that mindset, and that's exactly how they think. Because the minute I start mentioning history, the minute I start mentioning names, the minute I start mentioning dates and so forth, they get upset with me. Or either they get upset or they can't give me a legitimate answer. So if you can't give me a legitimate answer, then don't you think that there might be something wrong there? There might be something wrong there. You can't explain to me what's going on here. You can't explain to me your point of view and articulate it to me. Don't you think that something might be wrong with that picture? And see, this is what I think is hurting a lot of black people. Now, let me add something else to this. What I believe with this reverse racism, I believe, in my opinion, is reverse racism, is back in the days, it was against, it was whites against blacks, right? Not all the time, not all white people. Y'all know what I mean. Civil, the Jim Crow laws and the KKK and so forth in the Deep South. It was these white people against black people. Now it's It's the establishment, if you will, the leftist liberal establishment against white people. The killing part about this is that this establishment, from liberal politicians, liberal filmmakers, liberal business tycoons, they tend to all be what? White. So you're basically hating on your own kind. Now the question is, why would someone from the same racial ethnicity, why would they hate on their own race? Why would they reverse things and begin to show clear signs of racism and bias towards those of their own? I believe, in my opinion, is that, and I've said this in videos before, this is a Marxist attempt to create a revolution in this country, a race war in this country that will be so horrific that the true Marxist politicians and Marxist revolutionaries will step forth and save the day. Because this is what they want. This is what they've been trying to accomplish in America for a long time. They just can't come out and push it against blacks because it's too obvious. I believe, in my opinion, that deep-seated liberals hate black people, that the Democrats, I still believe most of the Democratic politicians are still racist. I still believe that they think blacks are inferior. They didn't change from the days of slavery. They didn't change from the civil rights days, and they didn't change now. I still believe that they're racist. They're just doing it a different way. And because of that, I believe that they can't just come out and show racism and make it obvious towards blacks today. So they're switching it. They're switching it around towards white people. Why? Because I believe that the Democratic Party has been largely infiltrated by far leftist Marxist organizations and far leftist communist organizations who are using the Marxist ideology of the oppressed and the oppressor based on Karl Marx writings of the Communist Manifesto, the oppressed and the oppressor, to cause chaos in this country in order to produce a race war between whites and blacks so that they can come in and save the day and create their communist government. I believe that then, and I believe it now. I believe we're being tricked. And that's why I talk about what I talk about so that I can expose it. I'm surprised ain't nobody killed me by now. But this whole thing, going back to this whole idea of this mindset of revenge, I believe a lot of black people just want revenge. You guys did it to us, or your ancestors did it to us. We're going to do it to you. We don't care about the truth. We don't care about facts. We want revenge. But I submit to you, revenge is not the best way. Revenge is not the answer. The truth is the answer. And if we don't unite as the human race, we're going to all be destroyed as a race. Period. America will be no more if we don't unite and expose the lies so that more people can see what's going on and make a change. That's what I believe. That's what I stand on. So I wanted to speak on that real quick. I wanted to give my opinion on that. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, share this video, and subscribe. God bless you all, and see you again.